What's up, everybody? How you doing? We're going to be getting going here in just a moment. Hope everybody's feeling good, looking good. You are good. We got some incredible charts that I'm going to be sharing with you today, talking about this bullish stall we have going on right now in the market. Is this a setup for a further breakdown, or is this just par for the course for what we see around this time post-halving? I've got some great charts lined up, so I want to see everybody. I see some old names in here as well. Everybody get active in the chat. I want to see you getting active in here. Drop a 1 in chat if you're ready to really start looking at some charts to get us set up for the rest of this week, but also what is to come. It's so exciting to see each and every one of you in here on a daily basis. If you're ready to get this going, drop a 1 in chat right now. What's up, everybody? Good morning, good afternoon, good night, wherever you're tuned in from. Welcome to the BitLab Academy daily stream. My name is Kelly Kellum. Welcome to the show. We got some things to talk about today. What's going on in this market? What these signals are saying. Because sometimes people just get bored out of their mind and they think it's over, so they capitulate. And that's not what you're doing if you're here watching the BitLab stream. And again, I just want to say how much I love you and appreciate each and every one of you. And I want every one of you to succeed. So if you're down with that, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, ding the bell. Also, shout out to our new partner, Galactics. I'm going to be telling you a little bit about that, a little bit more about that today. But we got to talk about what's going on right now in this market. What is going on? Well, we see, if we zoom out here, we see a lot of lines on the chart. So let's go ahead and take off every line. What we can just generally see, boom, this resistance level that this keeps hitting up against. But when we put the lines on the chart, a lot of lines. Let's actually go to something with a few less lines. We have this descending level of resistance that we have clearly broken out of. And as it stands right now, is there a reason to be fearful? Well, all we're doing right now is testing back into this zone right here. Now, this is not anything for me to be worried about. In fact, we have a lot of levels below us that we haven't even anywhere near tested that gives me any worry about what's going on. So we got to talk about what truly is going on in the market right now. Why have the bulls stalled? Is this just a normal thing? We're going to be talking about some altcoins as well in this stream. So if you like that, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, ding the bell, and let's talk about some of these things that we got going on. Now, everybody throw a 1 in chat if all of the audio, visual, everything is working, sounding good, looking good, because again, I am on another setup here. And shout out to all the OG members here in the house. And look at Sawtooth Hiker. He's got that blue beaker, meaning he's been a BitLab member here for quite some time. Big love to you, my friend. And the longer you're a BitLab member, that beaker fills up more and more. So shout out to all the members here. If you are a BitLab member here on the YouTube, drop your favorite emojis. How you feeling? Are you buying the dip, or are you a bear? What are you feeling like right now? Now let's talk about it. What's going on here? What we want to talk about. This is the first thing I want to bring up. The 2024 Bitcoin halving was a failure. People were wondering why, because they've been waiting so long. They've been waiting so long for this Bitcoin halving. And then they say, oh, everybody told me after the halving it was supposed to go up. So this is a question a lot of people are having in the space right now because we don't have patience. So are you sure? Are you sure it's a failure? Because during the past halvings, Bitcoin was minus 50% below the all-time high and 6 months away from a new all-time high. That's not the case for what we're seeing right now. And also 2024 is ahead on price performance. 2024 is also ahead on schedule. Perspective is key. And in fact, I shared a chart with all of y'all, an on-chain chart, but also this chart right here is showing the previous cycles lined up for the halving and what happened post-halving. And I identified, this was back April 19th. If you're not following me, I don't know what you're doing. And make sure you are following me here at Kelly Kellum, Kelly Kellam. But what I was showing here is that post-halving, we tend to have quite not quite a bit, but a bit of consolidation for some time, some chop that is only meant to shake out every one of those last week hands. So only the most deserving people in the market, the people that are patient, the people that are stacking into that uncertain time can take the benefit of this massive upswing that is here. Now, my question right now, though, is everybody that is here, how many cycles have you been here? What is your born on date? What month and year did you first enter crypto? Because we've grown a lot since I've asked that question last. So I'd also like to know what city and state or what country are you tuned in from? Because we have people from all over the world. And I just want to make sure that we remember that this just isn't just a crypto channel. We talk numbers. This is a community. We need to do this together. So let's see if we can tie any of these things together off air as well. Some of you guys could have meetups, talk crypto, and do this because this is all about growing together. So let's go ahead and get back to this chart. This period right here is the time that more people than you even want to consider absolutely get wrecked because they're impatient. And remember, these markets move money from the impatient to the patient. So do not be one of those people that's giving your capital to somebody that's already got 2 boats and you're helping them fund their 3rd or 4th boat or their 3rd or 4th vacation home. No, we're going to be patient. We're going to stack into the data. So that's what this is all about. We see, let's see, Ethan Smith says peak of the last bull run. You know what? If you got in at the peak of the last bull run, super double, quadruple shout out to you that you still saw the benefit, even riding down that incredible bear market and stuck with this. I'm sure you lost some money along the way, but there's no way to really make it in this market unless you've paid that tuition. And my goal here on BitLab Academy is to help make sure that you have to pay the smallest amount of tuition possible. Maybe that tuition can just be time and education. Far too many people get far too ahead of themselves and absolutely wreck themselves in this market because they're not patient. Pay tuition in time. Don't pay tuition in lost trades because you are impatient. Now, going on to this next chart right here, or this next post from Quentin here, Quentin Francois, he says, BlackRock, everybody's worried about the potential bearishness right now, but BlackRock is shilling their Bitcoin ETF to pension funds. Morgan Stanley is about to get Bitcoin exposure to its funds. We got Europe's 2nd largest bank, BNP Paribas, bought a Bitcoin ETF. Argentina is about to mine Bitcoin. South Korea and Australia are about to approve Bitcoin ETFs. A few years ago, any one of these things would have been major news, sending the price absolutely rocketing higher. So my question to you is, how could you not be bullish right now? The fact that the market isn't absolutely exploding in this moment isn't a bearish signal. It just shows where we're at in the market cycle, and we've been here before. So let's, even if you haven't been here before, you have the benefit of zooming out on a chart, looking left and seeing what the market has done at this part of the cycle. So all these things incredibly bullish. And then on top of all that, we see that, I can't even say this name properly, Susquehanna, the massive $438 billion asset manager, just revealed a whopping $1.3 billion portfolio in Bitcoin ETF. Traditional asset funds are starting to realize that this is the future of finance. And at minimum, even if they don't obviously put everything into it, it's more of a risk not to get exposure. Now, whether or not you think this is bullish for your portfolio, the truth is this gives this huge access point that we've been talking about in this market. The capital that's going to need to come in to send the price to those levels that we've all been hearing about and talking about, whether it's 100K, 200K, 500K, million plus, several years down the line. In order to reach those levels, we have to have capital flows that can, one, have access to get exposure, but also have the wherewithal and the sentiment and the awareness to do so. And we're already seeing those dominoes fall in a major, major way. So although we're seeing, when we're looking at, where's this at? Although we're seeing when we look at this chart, oh my God, I have to wait 40 to 150 days somewhere in here. So let's just call it 100 right there in the middle. Is that really so bad? Thinking about how fast this market moves over time, and we're worried about waiting a couple months. How about instead of feeling like it's boring right now, how about instead of feeling like, oh, I have to wait for the market to absolutely take that rip to the upside, you realize that this is actually the opportunity zone for those that are prepared. Let me say that again. How about instead of being frustrated right now that the market isn't absolutely ripping higher right after the halving, we realize instead of us thinking, I have to wait longer, no. The market moves money from the impatient to the patient. So if you can be patient right now, if you can look at the data and see the flood of capital that's coming to Bitcoin and this crypto market, then you can use this time frame, this waiting. No, it's not waiting, it's opportunity. Opportunity. That's what we need to realize right now to really take advantage of this market. Now, when we come on to this next chart, where we at? Right here. Look at this. Bitcoin's hash rate has been improved 4x since the last all-time high. Still price is at $62,000. Now, the reason why this is incredible is because the hash rate, by some accounts, could be thought of as a metric of a big part of the intrinsic value of Bitcoin. Now, why is this? Because Bitcoin is a computer network, right? It's not only a network, the most secure network in the world, but it's also a community. It's also a digital asset. There's so many different types of utilities. But when we look at this metric, what we're really seeing is the strength of the network has improved incredibly over time. Meaning the network is stronger, meaning the underlying value of Bitcoin. When you want to look at the data points of assessing, especially think about like smarter investors, people that aren't just looking at price. They say, oh, the underlying value of the network, the thing that makes the network so powerful, the strength and security of it, is getting stronger over time. Look at this. Even through this choppy zone here, the network was getting stronger and stronger. This is incredible. There's nothing to worry about here that we have to wait, about 100 days before the market really rips higher. These are all, when we're looking at the data, it's not so scary. Now, when we get back over to this chart, and I've shared this with you all before, doesn't look like it's ever been the halving. Well, whether or not it is a halving or not, I'm going to tie this into something bigger here in a second. Clever if Satoshi tried to line it up, though. Now, this is basically the global liquidity cycle he's talking about here. It's a liquidity cycle world. And when we have this pop, this is April 2023, when we really started getting this crossover here, liquidity coming up, global liquidity coming up. We've seen it kind of somewhat, I don't want to say suppressed, but it slowed down a little bit towards the end of last year. But we just saw a few days ago the M2 money supply flipped back across that zero line and showing that there's new global liquidity coming in. Right in part of the cycle where we also just had the halving, and we are also in an election cycle here. I mean, the dominoes are falling into place in ways that I can't even fathom. So when I'm worried about this little period right now, this period of sideways consolidation is not a point to fret about because it's not happening now. No, it's a point to say, I still have opportunity. And even if you don't have dry powder on the sideline, okay, sometimes you just got to be patient and sit on your hands. So when we get back over to this chart right here, global liquidity had ticked up last year. And then we see right here, this is from TED Talks Macro. Amazing cross-border cap, 65-month liquidity cycle theory, perfectly synchronized with crypto liquidity. The next cycle high is due June 2026. Now, whether or not this is true or not for where this cycle high is going to be, I think this is probably a little late. I think it'll be a little earlier than this. But the point being is, look at where we're at on this moving higher right as the risk on metric here had flipped back bullish. This risk on, meaning the cycle liquidity had started ticking up. And what did we see? Yes, you can say it's because the ETFs just got approved and launched. Yes, you could say it's because Susquehanna also just bought $1 billion worth of the ETFs, or Hong Kong just got their Bitcoin and Ethereum spot ETFs, or because it was the halving, or it's because it was the global liquidity. But isn't it interesting that all these things are lining up? And what I feel like is a bit of a perfect storm. I mean, I could not be more bullish about what's going on right now. So even if we dip from here, it's okay. But what about this metric here from HODL 15 Capital? Order book shows no sell walls until $73,000 on Coinbase. Well, that's a very wonderful sign. But we all also know when we come over here to high block capital, and we pull up the liquidation. Let's go to liquidation heat map. We do see. Let's actually take this down to the 12-hour run. We do see that we do have some liquidation zone areas that we need to pay attention to both above and below us. So look at this zone right here that just turned very yellow recently, meaning there's a lot of liquidations potentially at this zone of about $63,000. So for me, I won't call that a sell wall or a buy wall. What this shows me is that there's liquidity interest very hot. The most that we could see in a roundabout way of where we're at right now is directly above us at $63,000. So we're going to want to pay attention if the price action pushes up there. But we got a lot more charts that we're going to have to look at here. I do also want to point out, I talked about in the BitLab, by the way, this is one of the reasons why you should be in the BitLab Discord as a member. You can go to lab.bitlabacademy.com/Kelly. We still have a great Bitcoin halving deal going on. Again, that's lab.bitlabacademy.com/Kelly. I'll go ahead and copy this and put this in the live chat. Join BitLab here. And I'm telling you, we're dropping so much alpha in here. I did a long thread yesterday. Was it yesterday? Yeah. Time's flying. Talking about what's going on here. This chart right here from Will Clemente basically talked about the reset. So everybody's worried about right now about what's going on, but we see that we got a reset of the funding rates, meaning the market is actually in a healthier stance now. 74 felt great, but this was also meaning when we got up to 74, things were getting a little over leveraged, leading to sort of an imbalance of health in the market. So the drawback, a necessary thing, remember it's always rise, retrace, continuation. That retrace flushes out that huge amount of open interest and basically the funding rates as well. And we get down to a more stable, healthy price action in the charts. We can also see in this chart right here, I talked about this yesterday, I think yesterday, we have the stochastics on the weekly chart here on Bitcoin have come down and reset similar than we saw in the COVID crash. And then once we pushed up, we still had to flush out a little bit of that sentiment. This was that post-halving right here, that sideways post-halving that we just talked about. Happens every cycle so far. And then once we got that little fake out to the upside, wash out to the downside, higher low, and the stochastics on the weekly reset, then we got that launch. Similarly, right here, wash back down, stochastics reset, launch. Okay, look how much higher we are here. Here's a low, here's a higher low, and then yet again a higher low. And you can see that he didn't put this is from El Crypto Prof, known as Mustache. Right here, we also got a launch, and that is where the stochastics reset here. But look, even though we're higher, these stochastics have reset even deeper. So we've got some hidden bearish, bullish divergence right here on these stochastics, which is kind of a fairly wonderful thing to see. Now we can also see right here, I said, now we can see that despite all the perceived bearishness and price action, Bitcoin has yet again tested a known level that is tested regularly in every bull trend, the short-term holder cost basis. I know I've talked about this a lot, but I hope this chart helps further illuminate it. In this chart, you can see how often in previous cycles, the Bitcoin price tested this level on the way up. Testing this level and seeing the small rebound we have had so far does not eliminate the possibility of testing down still, but we are in that region of testing this before liftoff. And we can see this on this chart right here. This is that short-term holder cost basis, where once we break through it, we just use this as support all the way up with yes, small deviations below. This is where you can see down here, where this comes down and flips to where we get these little pink little dots. That's the short-term, that's the price action slightly dipping below the short-term holder cost basis. In fact, we see it right here, a little bigger on this double top we had in 2013 into 2014. And then here we go right here again from 3,100 to 14,000. That dip down below, we had a couple deviations below, but this had a very different cycle structure than we're seeing now, which is, I think, a lot more reminiscent of back here in 2016 into 2017 into 2018, this huge run we had. Now, what are we seeing? Look at this. This is a split in price action from where the market price is that you're trading on exchange to what the short-term holder realized price is, or also known as the short-term holder cost basis. And when we get that little deviation below it, this is where you see this pink. And we came back, we tested again. We may get another slight deviation below, but after all these bullish signals that I've shared with you, I'm not going to be too worried about a deviation below. I'm going to use in this bull trend price action going below the short-term holder cost basis as a clear signal that there is a dip buying opportunity, especially with where we're at in the market cycle. Now we can also see right here, this is a Puel multiple. Look at this massive drop right here. This massive drop is very similar to what we see back right here. This drop right here is basically when we had the Bitcoin halving. This very big drop. Of course, this dropped, this is for a different reason, but this is the COVID crash. But look at this drop, reset, and then the market was able to really move up. And look at how far this is reset. This is wonderful, because when this is very high on the Puel multiple, it also tends to be when you're getting towards a market cycle potential top. So the fact that this is reset this is incredibly bullish. This is wonderful. Now, we talked about that boredom in the market. Boredom in the market. Boredom in the market actually tends to signify great buying opportunities. Now we see how this was starting to get a little heated here. And as this dropped, this is the number of active addresses. So we're seeing how many people are actively moving. So a lot of people are sitting on their hands right now. Great. But this is actually a bullish signal because it signifies people aren't paying attention. Now, coming back, again, if you want to get into the BitLab Discord where it's not just me, Joshua Jake, it's John Dalton, Corduroy, which we have a couple private member streams in there. Make sure you head over to lab.bitlabacademy.com/Kelly, and you can join here with that discount. Now, we do have some things to worry about, though. It's not just all sunshines and butterflies. This is a post that I don't know if I necessarily agree with, but we've got to pay attention to. That is this right here. This is the last two times the ETH Bitcoin chart broke down. The ETH USD chart then dropped approximately 70%. In a world where everyone has been preaching alt season for the last 2.5 years into Bitcoin dominance, into a Bitcoin dominance uptrend, I thought I would remind people there is still downside risk. And what he's showing here is Ethereum to US dollar. He basically identifies where the ETH Bitcoin chart breaks down. And we also see that right here. Look at these large dips that we've had on Ethereum. So there is possibilities out there that things can still wash out rather viciously. And this is why when you're trading in this market, that you need to still, no matter what anybody tells you, you need to practice risk management that serves your portfolio the best. So there are opportunities for a little bit of a washout, because I think he actually also shared this. Let me come over to his page. And by the way, you should be following him if you're not. It's at into Cryptoverse. But he talks about right here, this is what he's talking about. Now, this is a chart that a lot of people that aren't looking at the deeper data, they don't understand it, and it's not sexy because it's not the coin that they're trading. But this gives you signal on those alts. This is the dominance of Bitcoin. The dominance means when you look at the total market cap, how much of that market cap of all the crypto, how much of that total market cap is comprised by Bitcoin itself. So when more capital is flowing into Bitcoin, then this dominance is rising. And what we are seeing, I've showed it on here before. Let's go ahead and bring it up right here. BTC.D. That's the Bitcoin dominance. If we look at this, let's go ahead. Let's go to the weekly. Double click here. We do see that we do have this downtrend resistance here, where this is, basically found resistance on a few times, and we are kind of flirting with regionally, potentially even going higher from here. Now, this would be. It's not necessarily bad for one thing or another, but when you're thinking about trading altcoins, let's be honest, I'd rather be in a market where I'm going to make the most money, right? Meaning the different assets within that broader asset class. And if Bitcoin is about to continue running, then you need to be paying attention to what you're trading or what you're holding. And this is suggesting that maybe Bitcoin could be, the dominance could be going a little higher, which would essentially mean that it is running faster than many of the alts. Not every alt, because there's going to be certain coins like Render just blew up yesterday from that announcement with Apple. We see AVAX also setting up for some magic, which is, I have that chart somewhere here. This is from Texas West Capital right here. AVAX also looking like it's setting up out of a 1,200-day accumulation for a potential run. But you need to pay attention to what these different altcoins you're holding are doing in compared to Bitcoin. Because remember, right now we have a beautiful storm for Bitcoin, which ultimately will end up being an incredible story for altcoins. But it may be some time before those altcoins really, as a broad asset class, really start to run. We may see coins, yes, like Render, like AVAX, maybe Solana. You know, there's a number of different coins out there, Injective, Polkadot, that could have different stories, different narratives, different fundamental changes that do send them outrunning a lot of other things in the market. But it's important to know broadly, when we're looking at the market as a whole, that if dominance is going up, the broader altcoin market is probably not moving as fast as Bitcoin. And we can see this dominance drop. This is when the alt season really just absolutely exploded. So the cool thing about this, understand this, the cool thing about this is that think about how much altcoins have risen since their cycle lows. And this was in the face of the dominance going higher. So this, to me, suggests when this dominance, if and when this dominance does break down, it is incredibly bullish for what kind of capital may be flowing into this altcoin market. This is absolutely incredible. I love this. Now, let's talk about those altcoins. Let's talk about that altcoin market. Now, this is the total market cap, not being the total 2, which excludes Bitcoin, not being the total 3, which excludes Bitcoin and Ethereum. This is excluding all of the top 10. So it's primarily literally just altcoins, right? And you're going further and further down that market cap list. But when you're looking at this, look at this giant cup here. We see this breakout, retest the zone. We have this move up beyond this 0.5, rejection, retest this, and then another launch. This is where we're at right now. This is the last cycle back in 2015 into 2017. And look at where we're at right now. This is the 2022 to 2024. We're doing almost exactly the same thing. Is this not exciting to you? That this does not suggest everything's about to break out tomorrow, but this is also why I'm sitting on my hands with the alts that I do hold. I've got those positions. I'm waiting for this huge leg up to really start layering out of those positions. It is not that time yet. Things are bullish. Things are setting up on a macro scale more bullish than I could even imagine. Now, I do want to shout out, as we do take profits and as we are holding and as we are, especially if you're holding for any sort of period of time, I do want to shout out our channel sponsor, Arculus. Make sure you head over to getarculus.com, the best hardware wallet out there. I absolutely love this wallet. The three different multi-factor authentication and just the ease of use. Make sure you head over there and get this. If you don't have a hardware wallet, or if you just want another one to add to your portfolio, you can use LAB10, LAB10. I think it's in the pinned comments at the very top of the live chat there. So make sure you go and sign up and get that there. Now, when we're looking at what's going on right now, let's get back over to Bitcoin, daddy-o Bitcoin. Let's look at this chart right here. Got a lot of different things here. Let's delete some stuff here. Let's clean up the chart. We don't need all these markers on here from when we were looking at smaller time frames. All right, that's kind of okay. This is this rising parallel channels that have kind of really defined the roadmap of the way up, but also look at this retest here. This is on a weekly chart. This candle came all the way down and tested almost within a couple $100 of this rising level of previous resistance that flipped to support. This is actually incredibly bullish. Now mark this also with looking at here, come down on the 4-hour chart. We did get that test. This is that test. This is that deviation below the short-term holder cost basis. This doesn't have those parallel channels, but this is that test of that line here. And now, not only that, on the smaller time frame, we have this descending level of resistance that we have broken out of. Now, in the BitLab Discord, I also I shared a chart with this head and shoulders pattern that we had right here. Now, there's actually, interestingly, I'll do 2 different trend lines. I'll do one like this, which is basically from the neckline to the candle bodies. Look at this. We've almost fulfilled that entirely. Or you can do the classic sort of way of measuring, where you take from the bottom to the very top of any wick or anything. That's that line that I have right here. And this suggests that we could come all the way down to here, but this is also a bit of a quick move. So it's interesting that we've come down on this, on the measurement to the candle bodies, to not only test this descending level of resistance that has flipped to support basically 3 times now, but also that this is at the cross section of where this trend line, this basically trend zone is, from this bounce, this rejection, this bounce, this bounce. Now, again, we're bouncing. If we do wash out to the downside, I'm not really all that worried about it. I'm using that as a signal of a further buying opportunity, but things are shaping up to, I think, get into the position in the next week or two to have a bit of a final chop, whether it's a move up and then a washout down before a continuation up, or a washout to the downside as a spring, and then that move to the upside. So things are looking good right now. Things on the broader picture. Remember, we've known this for some time, that we could get a very choppy sort of sideways. And a lot of people say, sell in May and walk away. Well, it's May right now. I actually think we're going to have a pretty damn good June and July. And this is just that period right after halving of basically testing the resolve of both the bulls and the bears. So are you all bullish right now? Drop a bull in the chat. Drop a boom in the chat if you are a BitLab member. But there's, I mean, I could not be more bullish right now. Now let's go ahead and look at Ethereum, Bitcoin, because we did bring up that chart and we talked about it. Look at this. I mean, oh, look at these washouts both directions. On Ethereum to Bitcoin chart, this is really, we could even draw a line out like this. You can see we did lose this. I'd be watching for a potential rejection here, maybe a further move to the downside. But remember, there might be a little bit more bearishness in Ethereum at this stage in the market than normal, because of the questionability about that US Ethereum spot ETF approval or denial, right? So we also just saw that Grayscale just withdrew their application for an ETH futures ETF. So there's some questionability about what's going on there, in addition to the fact that Gary Gensler is still on this sort of nonstop rampage of uncertainty about whether or not ETH is a security or not, and how they're going to move forward with everything going on in that vein. So because of that, there's going to be some questionability of what's going on there. And this is in the face of Bitcoin already having an approved Bitcoin spot ETF and capital flowing in there, and knowing that in some ways it already got that stamp of approval, not only from Fidelity and BlackRock, but also the US government, because these are approved and running. So that may lead to what I was talking about before over this chart right here. That may be one of the reasons why we may see the Bitcoin dominance trend a little higher, because we still have that window of uncertainty, especially with corporate money, with big money players not yet having that approval that is needed on a regulatory framework to have that huge capital flowing in. So we got to pay attention to what's going on here. Now, coming back over here, I did see, let's check back in on Render, because Render had this massive move up, and I did not change anything here. This has just come right into a level that we've had marked out since back over here. This is why it's so good to understand how to draw your levels on a chart. Shout out to everybody that's in the room right now. I don't know if we got shadow banned or what today, but we got the 81 most important people in the crypto world live with us right now. So do me a favor, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, ding the bell, show some love. But we could see Render making that move up here. And if I come back over here, let's come to my page. That is due to this massive story that came out yesterday. Apple just presented Octane X, the rendering software powered by Render, as the pro rendering app on the new iPad. You can also see the Render logo in the video. So this means this is going to be integrated into those Apple products, and also this application also in their advertisement. That's a huge nod of just absolute bullishness. And I do think the AI the AI space still is going to have another nice leg up. And this is why you're seeing this move here. This is why if this is scaring you, when this is coming down, you're coming into zones. This is why you do dip buying opportunities, especially in a field that is advancing as fast as it is. Because then you get that next huge news announcement, and we get this nice move up. Nice consolidation back down, this retrace, rise, retrace where into this previous cycle top. Sorry, not cycle, range top. Now, if this does move to the downside, I'd be watching this zone right here, which is about 929 as a potential buying opportunity. But let's go ahead and be diligent. Let's do a Fibonacci from the bottom to the top here, and look at that. The 382 fib is right here on where this previous cycle top is, this range top. If we lose that, then we can have another buying opportunity down here at the golden pocket. But it's all going to be determined on which way, not all, but it'll be heavily weighed upon based on which way the market is moving with Bitcoin. Because if we do get a huge washout to the downside, those alts tend to take a bigger hit than Bitcoin because they're smaller market caps and they're higher risk. Higher risk will get exited more quickly than the lower risk option in any market. So render is looking good, but I'm okay with watching for a little bit of a pullback coming again, this level down here at about 934 to 929. If we're able to find support here and push back up, then we're looking at that basically retesting that 1075 zone. And if we can push up from there, then our next pit stop will be up here at 1236. Things are looking great. Now AVAX, gotta look at AVAX because TX West Capital, Mr. Chris Inks, was talking about that long-term sort of consolidation, but also look at this giant pattern here that we just left drawn out into the future. This is why it's good to draw out into the future on your trend lines, because look at this. This came up, found resistance here, and now we broke through, had trouble right in the zone, but now we're currently forming a little bit of a higher low. We want to maintain, I would say, above 3076, but I'd really prefer to maintain above, above this $33 level right here, because this would be a nice higher low, which also would represent a bit of an inverse head and shoulders. See this shoulder, see this head, and if we do this like this, then we have a setup for a signal for a potential break to the upside. But we're gonna have to watch this. But it's nice to see things before they play out and look at it as an idea, not an absolute. So how many of you out here are holding AVAX? How many of you are AVAX holders? What price did you get in on AVAX? Now, let's go ahead and look at HBAR after its giant. Let's go ahead and move these over. So frustrating to do TA with a trackpad. I'll tell you that right now. Let's move these over, move this sucker over, okay, and move this sucker over. This was that BlackRock announcement that was misconstrued. And look at this, where it went to. It went to a projected trend line that we had already in place. And look at, that was a great opportunity to take profits if you were trading this and you're like, oh my God, it's up, this however many percent. This was a massive move. This was a 108, 110% move. Came right into a trend line, and then it broke all the way back down to, look, this previous range stop. Isn't that crazy? And now it's trying to make its way to the upside, but I'd be a little cautious on this at the moment because of this whipsaw effect here. But I do think in the long run, HBAR has been making some strong partnerships, and they've got a strong community. So if you felt like you missed it here, then this test back to the zone should have been a signal. But even as this has moved up, it is starting to move back down. I'll be looking for maybe a buy opportunity down here about 9.9, and then if loses that, then this may be signaling a further breakdown. But this would be in the short term. In the long term, I think this project's going to do fine. Let's look at somebody I remember was asking about Injective. So let's look at Injective. We haven't looked at this in a while. So Injective's beautiful trend line here. You see this trend line? You see this sort of zone, this descending, and we can do it from two different levels just so we can let's see, boom. So either way, from this point just to this point, but more specifically, what's nice is this one where it's rejection, 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 rejection. So it's going to be interesting here. What I'd like to see on Injective is support at this level. If we lose this, then it may be signaling another bit of a leg down. But if we're able to hold this and sort of move into this peak, push out from here, come down and test somewhere in this region and then continue up. But in the long run, I think Injective is one of those protocols. It's actually going to have a wonderful bull run. It's just shaking people out in the process. Remember, shaking out the impatient to give that money to the patient. So this is actually, let's look right here in case we did get a breakdown. If we did get a breakdown, I'd be looking at a region, option J. Look at where this bounce right here. If we do lose this level and test lower, I'd be looking for a great opportunity in the $19 to $20 range right here. It'd be a little bit, I think there's going to be a much larger breakdown of our markets if this does lose and come down here, meaning there's a bigger bearish pullback, short-term bearish pullback in Bitcoin if this does lose this level. But if we're able to squeeze into this and break out, then things might be looking good. But right now, this is looking a little indeterminable. So I'd be watching for a breakout either below or a breakout above on this. Now Fetch, remember Fetch and Ocean and AGIX have that merger coming up. And we can see this nice trend line right here of rejections. Now, this is a little worrisome because we had a bit of a trend line there. We lost it. So let's go ahead and delete that line. It's kind of invalid at this point. I'd be looking right here, option J. So this is a level I'd be watching coming down to. But this kind of worries me if this were to be the case, because if this comes down and bounces here, this also could be setting up a bit of a head and shoulders for a breakdown. So let's keep our eye on this. There's not a signal on a trade on Fetch right now. It might be resetting a little bit, but remember, if the AI narrative starts getting really hot again, then these things can start ripping. I did see CELO, where's that, CELO? CELO also had a pretty big pump today. CELO, CELO, like the artist. But look at this massive pump came up here to this level. Look at this, actually inverted, look at this, inverted head and shoulders here. Just tried to make that breakout. The bear sent it back down pretty fiercely. So this actually is, although this happened, look at all this volume. It's almost like somebody fat fingered a buy there. I'm unaware if there's a big news story on this now. I'm just looking at the chart. But this is having trouble right at this level. If it can hold above this and start making moves again, that would be good. But the way this looks, the bear is eating this up so quickly, suggests to me that this may have a little bit more consolidation to do if it is going to make a bull move. But this is signaling to me that it may be breaking down, and I'd be looking at this level right here because of this bounce, this bounce, this bounce, all in the same line. Rejection, bounce, bounce. So I'd be watching for an opportunity down here at 79 cents if we do get that breakdown. If this does sustain here, we want to see a little bit of a move up with candle body closures and a retest at some point, not like this where it's like, whew, let's actually go down a smaller time frame. Okay, so it looks different on a smaller time frame chart. So maybe this is a retest. This actually looks a lot better. We got to remind ourselves, you don't just look at one time frame, look at multiple time frames. Massive move up, coming down, finding support. If we can hold support here and start moving up, we really want to see Seagold or CELO, however you want to call it, take out this 89 cent mark, which are these candle body closures right in here, if we are expecting this to continue higher. But the market's looking good right now. There's patience that the charts are telling you, because there's so much that's building into the positive fundamentals of what's happening in the market. It just takes a little bit of approach of looking at the data, and sometimes having a little bit of time that you let the market develop and shake out the people that just need it to happen now. If you need it to happen now, you're going to need to find more money somewhere else, because you are going to make moves that are ultimately going to lose yourself capital in this market. Let me go ahead over here. But I really appreciate you guys. I do want to actually shout out, we got, I shared yesterday, a chance for you all to win $100. And also I wanted to shout out this new partnership we have with Galactics at Galactics GLX. Make sure you give them a follow. But we got a $100 USDT giveaway. I'm going to be drawing these once a week for the next 4 weeks. Come here to this tweet on BitLab Academy and retweet it. I'll go ahead and post this. Retweet for chance to win. Retweet for chance to win $100. Right here. I really encourage you. By the way, I do want to say before I get into that, no matter what you're doing in crypto, if you're trading, investing, anything that has to do with finance, I mean, really anything you're doing online, make sure you use a VPN to protect yourself. I'm so nervous about my security online and getting hacked and stuff. Not only do I use a VPN, I set my VPN for Lithuania so people don't even know where I'm at, what I'm doing, so they cannot track down and mess up, basically try to hack money out of my computer. So make sure you're using a VPN when you're doing anything related to crypto and finance at all. But I do want to say, make sure you check out Galactics. We're going to be talking a little bit more about them later, but this is a really awesome Web3 iGaming community, role-playing, RPG style gaming. This is so cool. And we're going to be going into this a little bit more later in this week. And you can check them out here on this link right here, bit.ly/BitLabGLX. The link is on that tweet. Make sure you go check that out. And you can check it out. They are open for pre-launch right now with the $25,000 referral competition. And I'll tell you more about that in the coming days as well. So shout out to Galactics. I'm more than a pleasure working with them. Now, again, everybody, I want you all to win. I want you all to succeed. I want you all to not feel the stress of the market because it's not doing exactly what you want. Look at the data. Get inside the BitLab Academy. We're sharing the charts with you. We're sharing the setups. We're doing member streams. And again, you can find that at lab.bitlabacademy.com /Kelly. I'll put that link in here again. Take advantage of this deal while it lasts. It's 15 days free and then a great deal for the life of that account. So check in there. Try it out for free. lab.bitlabacademy.com /Kelly. That's all I got for you today. I love you. I appreciate you. Let's kill it in this market. Let's be patient. Let's let this market bring us the goods. That's all I got. Adios, muchachos. Adios, muchachos. Thank you for coming. Thank you for always tuning in.